Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are having a good day. We are going to start by doing the perimeter of this figure. So go ahead and find the perimeter of this figure. All right, so hopefully you guys are going to be super excited about this. It's very simple. It should be a review concept for you. It might have been a while, but it should be review, and that is circumference of a circle. Okay, so what you need to know is the circumference of a circle is kind of the perimeter. It's the distance around the circle. It's the outside of the circle. There are two formulas you can use for it. One is if you have a radius, which has the R in there. The other one is with the diameter, which has the D. So either 2 times pi times the radius or diameter times pi, because remember the diameter is twice a radius. Okay, so either of those, you're going to decide which one to use based on whether you have a radius or whether you have a diameter, okay? And just to keep things consistent, let's use 3.14 always for pi. Don't use the pi button because it will round differently. Just use 3.14 when you're typing in for pi. All right, so we are just going to get started with plugging into some formulas. So let's get going on this. This first one says, find the circumference of a circle with radius of 3. Let me zoom in a little bit. So because we have a radius, that means we are going to use the formula with a radius in it. And I'm going to go even further to replace pi by 3.14 and replace r now with 3. So that means it is simply just a multiplication problem at this point. 2 times 3.14 times 3 gets me 18.84 inches. Okay, again, circumference is like perimeter, so it's one-dimensional. So we don't have squared inches, it's just singular. Okay, so let's look at another one. Here we go. We have a Ferris wheel. And we have a diameter. So because we have a diameter, we are going to use our diameter formula, which says pi times diameter or 3.14 times the diameter, and the diameter is 40. It is just 3.14 times 40 or 125.6 feet. Okay, so if we're doing radius, we're using this formula, 2 pi r. If we are doing diameter, we are using the diameter formula, pi times diameter, okay? Another one is what happens if we're given the answer and we kind of have to work backwards. So that's what we're going to work on this one. So it tells us that we're going to be looking for the diameter. So that means we are going to be using this formula right here. And I'm going to simplify by putting 3.1 in there for pi. Now it tells us right here that the circumference, we already know, is 32 feet, which means 32 is what our C is equal to, or our circumference. Okay, and now to solve for the diameter, we work backwards. This is multiply. The opposite of multiply is divide. So D is equal to 32 divided by 3.14 or 10.19 feet would be the diameter. Whoops, sorry. Okay. So don't get overwhelmed thinking I have to work backwards. This is way harder than I want it to be. If you know which formula you're using, you can plug in 3.14 for pi. You can plug in what the circumference is. That means it's just an algebra problem at that point, and we're just working backwards to solve. Okay, so you guys are going to try one of each of those problems. I'm going to make this bigger so you can see one of each of the ones that we just did. Okay, so if you haven't taken notes yet, you could rewind and watch it again and write it down so that you know what you're doing. So let's start with this one, finding the circumference with a radius of 9 centimeters. All right, so now we're going to do one with the diameter. Again, we've already practiced this one, so it's the same. Go ahead and find what the diameter or what the circumference would be with a diameter of 14.2. All right, and then lastly, we're going to do one where we work backwards. You'll notice that this one is the radius one versus the diameter. So you're going to use the radius formula, the 2 times pi times r, and work backwards. So go ahead and find the radius of the circle. When you're done, get working on your exit ticket. Okay, let me know if you have any questions.